Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and we got the first sneak peek for the upcoming June update, which may actually be in May. Let's check it out here. We cut to a warehouse of some sort. We see a suspicious crate drive up. It gets exploded, and oh, it's Iron Man. What? Yeah, this is pretty bizarre, but this is sort of in line with what we came to expect, given that in the previous post that we talked about, they said, you know, get ready for the most familiar team or the most familiar group for Marvel. And a lot of people, myself included, speculated the Avengers. There was also, you know, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or X-Men, you know, the X-Men family. But Avengers was up there. So it seems like we're going to be getting an Avengers-themed update, which always, well, lately in the last couple years comes with a mixed bag of reactions, because on the one hand, these are some of the most popular characters in Marvel history now, especially with the MCU, thankfully, and on the other hand, they don't need anything else, right? It doesn't take a genius MFF player to know that these characters have a lot of uniforms and a lot of different looks. So that's really what's the issue here. But it seems like we're getting a brand new uniform for Iron Man. And just for those of you at home keeping tally, we now have 3,000 uniforms for Iron Man. No, but listen, this happens every single time. I don't want to belabor the point too much, but every single time that a character like Iron Man or like Captain America, etc., gets another uniform, there's always a crowd of MFF players who collectively groan because these characters have seen, you know, basically one uniform a year for the past 7 years, with a few extra sprinkled in. So they're already in the double digits worth of uniforms, whereas there are characters that don't have any uniforms at all, and they've been in the game almost as long, right? Iron Man's only been in the game for about a year longer than Clea, but he has infinitely more uniforms than she does. So I can understand both sides of it, but I don't really want to make that the focus of the video, because it's a very black and white issue, right? Either you think there are too many uniforms and they should not get uniforms again, or you're sort of open to seeing what's going to happen next. And on the specific Iron Man front, I'm not going to cover any of the other Avengers just yet, but on the specific Iron Man front, I do really like this look for him. I'm not the biggest fan of, like, Superior Iron Man looks cool, but I like the classic gold, you know, yellow and red. I grew up watching that 90s Tony Stark Iron Man animated show, and I like it. It's a bit more classic. It's a bit deeper in the sort of classic roots of Iron Man. This is, I believe, the Mark IV for Iron Man, and that's going to kick off the speculation that I was right about tier 4. But yeah, so from what I understand, because I haven't been keeping up with comics lately, this look in the comics has made a comeback. So I know that Iron Man has a bunch of different looks in the comics, and he has the God Killer armor and yada yada yada. And generally speaking, as Iron Man has sort of improved his armor, we've gotten sort of improved versions. And that sort of makes sense when you think about it from a power level point of view. And the Superior Iron Man is one of his most powerful forms, although he does end up getting laid out by a couple of key heroes. But still, it's a very strong version of armor. So a lot of people are looking at this one and being like, oh man, we're going back to like Cave Tony. He's guard. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's like downgrading Echo. I'm not 100% sure that's the case, because like I said, this comic is very recent, so he's going to have a lot of modern technology and like modern tools. And then as far as the look goes, I like it. As far as the number 4 goes, for Mark IV, we have another piece of information. Well, we have another piece of speculation here, because Iron Man doesn't come in until quite a bit later. And in the meantime, you do have a crate that gets suspiciously placed here, right? And the crate does have 4 lines on it. So a lot of people have took that to say, you know, hey, this is the sign we're getting tier 4. You know, it's coming, guys. Batten down the hatches. On the other hand, if you keep watching, Iron Man destroys the chest. So maybe, again, pure speculation here, but maybe this is the sneak peek team letting us know in a subtle way that there is no tier 4, guys. That crate, that tier 4 crate that you guys created in your minds, boom, I have just exploded. I've just destroyed it. We're still sticking with the tier 3 upgrades. I have no idea. I'm obviously speculating like everyone else, but I don't think there's enough here. Like some people are saying, like some people are pretty reaching pretty hard. Like the box is a T. Like if you take the corners of the box, right? That's the cross, and then that's the line down. I guess. I don't know, guys. Listen, maybe we're going to get tier 4, maybe not. Again, what I've said about tier 4 in a nutshell is that it can come in many forms. And I think that initially tier 4 was supposed, the equivalent of tier 4 was supposed to be the artifact system for the devs, right? From the devs' perspective, the artifact system was supposed to be tier 4 because they're slowly rolling it out to characters just like they did with tier 3, and it's a very rare resource, which Celestial Essence is, just like tier 3 resources were very, very rare. But I think that the artifact system just didn't catch on enough. I think they weren't creative enough with it. They didn't release it to enough characters simultaneously. It just hasn't had the impact that I think that they wanted it to have, both in terms of like player adoption, but also in terms of like spending, right? They want to see that this new upgrade is being, chased after by the whales. If the whales are not chasing it, then there's no sense in pouring all this time and effort into making a very robust system. But at least with, obviously with tier 3, they had a robust system in place, and they knew players were going to slap down the big moolah for it. So they sort of ran with that idea, and we still see very unique tier 3 skills today, 4 years later. So I think that we could see something new like the artifact, not exactly like the artifact system, but I'm saying like one of these tabs here, right? And that could sort of be the tier 4 upgrade. But in the meantime, the more interesting thing, in my opinion, is the idea that the Avengers, right? If the Avengers are getting an upgrade here, what else does it open the door to? Because whether or not you like Iron Man, whether or not you think that Iron Man deserves a rework, he's not going to be the only character getting something. And yes, his uniform is about a year old now, so do with that what you will. But it says here, Tony Stark goes back to his roots in his classic uniform as Iron Man. And then over on the forums, we get agents. Meet this superhero who has returned to a more classic armor, the Invincible Man. Check out the new look of this gilded superhero who strives to make the world a safer and better place. Okay, sorry. For some reason, I thought there was more like of a team vibe in these teasers. I guess we're just going back to the original teaser and speculating on the fact that there are more classic Avengers. So if we look at the classic Avengers team, the very first Avengers team from like the 60s, I believe, you have Wasp, and you have not Giant Man, but you have this Giant Man, not the Ultron Giant Man, this Giant Man. These two were originally part of the OG Avengers. Well, this one, it was Hank Pym, basically, right? So Hank Pym and the original Wasp, those were two of the Avengers, along with Iron Man and Hulk. So Hulk is another option here that could get a sort of classic uniform after the Immortal Hulk. Hulk hasn't gotten a uniform in about 2 years, so I do think that he could get another one. Again, some people are going to groan and bemoan because Hulk had his time in the sun. Other characters have never had their time in the sun. I don't necessarily disagree with you. However, I do know, or I do sort of, I defer to the Disney and the Mickey Mouse engine, right? They're always going to pump out content for what they think is going to sell the most, right? There's no coincidence that Spider-Man always has 2 or 3 different issues running concurrently, whereas other characters have to beg and plead for just one issue that gets canceled after 10, right? One run that gets canceled after 10 issues. You see what I'm saying here, right? So because of that, I'm sort of trying to balance my expectations versus what we can probably expect. As long as they deliver a product that's fun and good for the players, I don't really have that much of an issue with it. We'll have to wait and see. Captain America is kind of the one that I'm hoping doesn't get anything at all because, yeah, he got one like, 6-7 months ago. I mentioned Hulk and I mentioned Iron Man because they're 1 year or more, right? Iron Man's 1 year, Hulk is 2 years, Wasp is, I don't know, 3.5 years, 4 years. It's a long time. And then this one's also like 2 or 3 or 4 years, something like that. I honestly don't know, but it's been forever for these guys. So pretty much Iron Man and Captain America are the only ones that I think kind of don't deserve a uniform, but one of them already got it. So it's sort of, the cat's sort of out of the bag in that sense. But yeah, I want to see what else has this update has to offer before I condemn it. Again, I know a lot of players are already reacting, and I'll save my reaction for the final product. If we see the patch notes and it's just a a cash grab for Iron Man. The other thing is, I don't know if I'd want to call it a cash grab because the uniform's not that expensive, right? Like a Stark stash gets you 2.5 uniforms, so to call it a cash grab. But anyways, you kind of get what I'm saying. If it's just sort of like an empty, update with minor upgrades for Iron Man, that's kind of the thing as well. As Iron Man and Captain America have fallen into this cascading upgrade effect where they are still getting a uniform every year, but the upgrades for those uniforms have gotten smaller and smaller and smaller. So like, yeah, this uniform was better than this one, and this one, this one was better than the other one, and then this one was better than the Hydra one. But we're talking about increments here, right? He's not making these gigantic leaps between uniforms. And I think I speak for the players when I say that we would prefer a bit more of a steady pace, right? Instead of the character getting a uniform every single year with minor upgrades, let's make it every like 18 months, every year and a half, or maybe every 2 years, but have them be meaningful upgrades that actually feel like a brand new character and push them to a level that they can compete at the top for a reasonable amount of time. Because the other issue with Iron Man specifically, not so much with Captain America if they keep him as a combat class, because that class sucks. It kind of has always sucked. With Iron Man, he's competing directly with Doctor Strange. And they have two options here, right? They either make they have three options, I guess. They make Iron Man incrementally stronger, in which case he's not going to be able to compete with Doctor Strange. They make him better than Doctor Strange, which would kind of feel weird at this point, to be honest with you. Or they make him specifically for PvP, which could be cool. We've never seen Iron Man in PvP, but again, I know some players wouldn't like that. So it'll be interesting. I think there are some cool decisions that the devs have to make, and then we'll just respond and let them know how we feel. That's sort of how this goes. So without further ado, why don't you head on over to the comments down below and let me know how you feel. Is this update going to be a hit? Is it already a stinker? Is it somewhere in between? Is this an L year for MFF after an amazing 2021? I don't know. You tell me. Thanks so much for watching. Smash the like button, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.